evening. You're watching the news at 7:30 on ATV. I'm Emily Su.
And I'm Edna. Here's a look at tonight's top stories.
Hundreds of protesting Hong Kong passengers refuse to leave cruise ship after Vietnam trip is cut short.
Hun Cook gets support from government and Beijing loyalists as it gets ready to launch new political party.
U.S. warns of toothpaste bomb threat as President Xi Jinping and others arrive for Sochi Winter Games.
Hundreds of Hong Kong passengers are refusing to leave a cruise ship that docked in Tsim Sha Tsui today, demanding compensation after their holiday to Vietnam was cut short.
Dozens of them lined up on the dock to protest, demanding a 70% refund and accusing the travel agency of shirking responsibility. ATV's Raymond Yeung reports.
Hong Kong people hold protests all the time, but never like this. The crowds outside Ocean Terminal in Tsim Sha Tsui witnessed an unusual sight this morning as the cruise ship Costa Victoria docked at 6 a.m. Dozens of Hong Kong passengers lined up on the deck to protest over their trip to Vietnam being cut short. They were supported by hundreds more on board who refused to leave the ship. This amateur video showed police officers trying earlier to mediate between the cruise operators and angry passengers. The Italian-owned Costa Victoria, carrying around 2,000 holidaymakers from Hong Kong, Macau and Taiwan, embarked on a 6-day voyage on the 1st of this month. After stops at Hainan Island and Da Nang in Vietnam, it was supposed to dock at Ha Long Bay on Tuesday for a half-day local trip. But that never happened, as access to the port was apparently blocked by a sunken ship. About 1,100 passengers who joined the tour through Hong Kong agency Miramar Travel were offered compensation of $300 each, while the vessel operator added $50 in spending credit for each room. That wasn't enough for passengers, who paid $8,000 to $11,000 for the trip, and they demanded a 70% refund. DAB lawmaker Anne Chang was among the travelers refusing to leave the ship. She told ATV over the phone that many were disappointed, but what made them angry was Miramar Travel's irresponsible attitude. She said the agency was not being sincere about solving the dispute. This video, filmed by a passenger, shows two representatives from Miramar, seen here on the left, being confronted by Chang and others. They complained that customers usually get full refunds from airlines or travel agencies if their trip goes wrong, and questioned why Miramar wasn't doing the same. Miramar Travel General Manager Alex Lee claimed that most passengers had accepted the compensation offer at first, but a dozen unhappy travelers persuaded others to join their protest. He said he regretted the change in the itinerary and insisted that Miramar had looked at all possible solutions, including docking at another port. Lee challenged anyone who was not satisfied to lodge a complaint with the Travel Industry Council. The council's executive director, Joseph Tong, came to Miramar's defense, saying the agency was not to blame. He asked for the passengers' understanding, saying the problem came out of the blue and Miramar had no control over it. Earlier this evening, after spending 5 hours on board the ship, Tong announced that talks will resume tomorrow to thrash out a solution.
So far, some of them have understand, and then they agree for our stepping in and arrange a meeting tomorrow afternoon to negotiate between Miramar Travel and the passenger to seek a compromising situation.
He was accompanied by Anne Chang, who left the ship but was not in any mood to compromise. It's not known how many passengers have left the ship, but thousands more were supposed to go on board for a new trip. Raymond Yeung, ATV News.
Top government officials and Beijing loyalists are backing the Hun Cook's plan to form a political party to contest the 2016 LegCo election.
They dismiss speculation that the powerful rule body is trying to split from the pro-establishment camp and form its own voting bloc. The chief executive wasn't there, but he sent most of his ministers to attend the Hun Cook spring reception this morning. In his opening speech, the powerful rule body's chairman Lau Wang-Fat said the Cook is studying how to strengthen its power to progress with time and do the right thing. While Lau is already a lawmaker, the Cook is planning to launch a new political party to contest the 2016 LegCo election. One of its leaders, Lam Wai-Keung, said he's confident the new party structure will soon be finalized and promised not to poach members from existing political parties. His colleague Hao Chi-keung explained that the new party would make it easier for New Territories residents to have their voices heard. The Cook, a traditional government ally, has had an uneasy relationship with Leung Chun-ying's administration in recent months because of villagers' opposition to policies that affect them. Political commentators say the new party could win seats in LegCo and form a voting bloc to challenge the pro-government camp. That might have been on Home Affairs Minister Zhang Duxing's mind today as he called for closer ties with the Cook, saying there is a great need to eliminate conflicts between them. Executive Councillor and lawmaker Starry Lee of the pro-government DAB echoed her support.
Veteran
Beijing loyalist Rita Fan rejected speculation about the split between the Cook and the government, saying they still enjoy good ties. Former Chief Secretary Henry Tang also voiced support for Lau's plans. The Cook chairman was Tang's staunch supporter when he ran for the city's top job against Leung Chun-ying in 2012. On the issue of political reform, Lau Wang-Fat said today his group will not turn a blind eye to what he called the provocative Occupy Central movement. That's after members of the Democratic Party took a public oath yesterday to join in the planned blockade of Hong Kong's business district to fight for universal suffrage. Party leaders including Emily Lau and Albert Ho were heckled by radical pan-Democrats from the People Power Party. Both claimed they were hit on the head by objects thrown at them. Several pan-Democrat lawmakers hosted a joint press conference this afternoon to condemn the attack. Lau denied there was a widening rift in the pan-Democratic camp, insisting the radicals were not their allies in the first place.
The Consumer Council received 30,000 complaints from unhappy shoppers last year, the highest number recorded in 4 years.
There was also a 44% surge in complaints filed by mainlanders. Hong Kong may be a shopping paradise, but the annual tidal wave of mostly mainland visitors brings with it a flood of complaints. These were highlighted by the Consumer Council today, looking back at the past year.
The highlight for this press release is consumer complaints highest in 4 years, amid heightened consumer awareness on sale practices.
The watchdog received 30,006 complaints last year, a 10% surge over 2012 and the highest in 4 years since 2010. The number of complaints from mainlanders alone surged to more than 2,300, a 44% increase.
They were predominantly dissatisfied with the purchase of goods such as medicinal products, health foods, watches, clocks, so on and so forth.
Divided into 50 categories, complaints relating to telecommunication services topped the list at nearly 6,400. Complaints about telecom equipment came second on the list, followed by gripes about electrical appliances, furniture and fixtures, and travel matters. A big factor that contributed to this big jump in complaints was the newly amended Trade Descriptions Ordinance, which came into force last July. According to the Consumer Council, many scam shoppers were motivated to come forward by the new ordinance, which targets false descriptions of goods and services. As to why the surge in complaints did not result in more persecutions,
not everybody, they want to his or her case to be prosecuted. They just want to have some mediation and maybe to get the money returned instead of asking the Customs Department to make charges.
The Council's year-end report included skyrocketing complaints about the shortage of baby milk powder. There were 310 such complaints, a 195% increase.
People are afraid that during the Chinese New Year, the shortage of milk powder will come back. So that's why a lot of people are going to buy milk powders and the prices increases.
Looking ahead, the Council is expecting more complaints related to online shopping, something that's going to be difficult to tackle.
First of all, it is very cross-jurisdiction. Many platforms are global platforms which governed by different kinds of laws. Secondly is about the rapid development of the industry. With many very small boutique shops appear on the online platform, they can open up very soon and they can close down, very soon as well.
The council plans to focus more on cooling off period for consumers to cancel their purchases. The U.S. has warned that the Winter Olympics in Russia could be hit by terrorists who hide bomb ingredients inside tubes of toothpaste.
However, officials admit the warning is not based on any specific threat. ATV's Ben O'Rourke reports.
Terror could be on the way to the Winter Olympics, packed inside tubes of toothpaste. That's the ominous warning from US Homeland Security. Authorities have told airports and some airlines that fly to Russia to watch out for toothpaste tubes that could hold ingredients to make a bomb on a plane. However, officials admit the very specific mode of attack was not a reaction to a specific threat. Some US lawmakers have expressed concerns about security at the Games, but President Barack Obama has brushed off the concerns, saying he believes Sochi is safe. That's something President Xi Jinping will see for himself after arriving there earlier this evening. The athletes don't seem too bothered about the scare.
I don't really care or listen to this stuff that happens outside and just focus on my race and try to don't care about stuff like that so that's all.
In December, suicide bombings killed 34 people in Volgograd, 700 kilometers northeast of Sochi, raising fears of violence at the Olympics. Russian forces have already set up a ring of security around the Black Sea resort to be ready for any possible militant attacks at the event, which starts tomorrow. About 40,000 police and security personnel are on duty in the city. However, critics argue that the vague toothpaste threat is just the latest part of the West's ongoing campaign to put the squeeze on Russian President Vladimir Putin in a modern Cold War that's being waged by the media and fought by celebrities. Overnight in the US, Madonna appeared at a concert by Pussy Riot, a Russian female rock band thrown in prison for desecrating a church and singing anti-Putin songs.
What I realized when I went to Russia and saw what was going on with Pussy Riot in this trial and what was going on with the gay community was how lucky I was and am to live in a country where I can speak my mind.
At the same time, protesters were on the streets of London accusing the Russian government of anti-gay policies.
Yeah, well, I'm here because I think it's absolutely ridiculous that the Sochi Olympics are still going on. I think the human rights violations in Russia are absolutely atrocious, and it's time to speak out again.
Russia's foreign ministry has appealed for all parties to all armed conflicts to observe an Olympic truce. Ben O'Rourke, ATV News.
Still to come on ATV's main news. CLP executives tell lawmakers of plans to use more nuclear power to control tariff increases.
U.S. put pressure on China to pull back on its maritime territorial claims.